The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Good evening and welcome to my State of Mind. I am Dan Yorke. Well, we've got a lot going on as we head toward Election Day, but we're trying to manage the virus here in Rhode Island and Massachusetts at the same time. The country is dealing with massive spikes. So too are our numbers more than creeping up, right? And then there's the conversation about the schools. Tonight we're going to focus on the schools because it's really scattershot out there. First, let's look at WPRI 12 News report on the governor's briefing yesterday, and then we'll talk with Erika Sanzi, former school board member in Cumberland, teacher, and author of the blog Good School Hunting.
The data shows Rhode Island is not in a good place, says Governor Gina Raimondo.
We have got to stop the trend and turn the corner.
The daily positivity rate remains above 3%, and if case numbers continue to go up, the governor says it could put Rhode Island back in phase 2 in the next week or two. She warns the projection may strain hospitals in Rhode Island.
It's possible we could surpass the surge capacity in our hospitals in 4 to 5 weeks, and then we would have to start using our field hospitals.
In order to change the projection Rhode Island is on, the message is simple. Wear your mask and limit your social network.
It is not too late. We can still change course. Really heed the steps that we're saying.
There will be another briefing on Friday where the governor says she will announce additional restrictions that she believes are needed to reduce the spread of the virus. One thing that won't be impacted is the method in which students are learning, because the governor says there is not widespread transmission in schools.
An impulse may be to just flip to distance learning, but I don't believe that's the right thing to do.
She didn't give specifics on the new restrictions, but Raimondo says she is looking at workplaces and reducing the social gathering limit, currently set at 15.
And with all that pleasant news, we move to our conversation tonight with Erika Sanzi. She is my go-to on education. Her blog is Good School Hunting, and she and I have some good conversations about where we're going in education pre-COVID, never mind in COVID. Hello, my friend. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Dan. Thanks for having me, as always.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Before we even get into the nitty-gritty on where we are with the schools, and there is so much nitty-gritty, what's your overall take as a citizen on the idea that we have a pre-phase 2 warning situation going on, and the governor is going to, tomorrow give us some more social limits, and I don't know. I'm puzzled at the approach, but I asked you, what do you think?
Disappointing. I don't feel at all like in my heart like a blame thing, like it isn't like I feel like, oh my God, if we just hadn't done X or Y, you know what I'm saying? Like I actually felt like we had done quite a good job as a state, and unfortunately that predicted second wave appears to be coming, and it's just a shame.
Yeah, well, we always have to remember the virus is a shame, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is, we get caught up. And I have to check myself too. We can't get caught up in a momentum of just checking off every decision that's made by the administration because we don't think it's exactly the strategic move that ought to be made. She didn't ask for COVID. Nobody asked for COVID. The world didn't ask for COVID. So we have to remember that. At the same time, thinking some things through is really important, and I don't think this administration has shown that they have enough bandwidth in their network of input. It's a very closed circle of decision makers that impact the education thing, which we're going to dig into here. But in general, it's a very closed bandwidth. And I hated to hear last night from the governor, which is when because I was off yesterday, I didn't hear the governor live, but I did catch up. And I was disappointed to hear that contact tracers are suffering the wrath of the citizenry the way they portray them to have been experiencing. At the same time, if she's starting to hint at more fines, say tomorrow if she decides that she wants to get into enforcement of small social groups, if she starts a fining process for that, how is she going to get contact tracing done the way she wants to? If it's already difficult and if people are already not cooperative, what do you think is going to happen if she starts tagging people a couple $100 a pop for having too many people around? Nobody wants to, somebody said to me something smart yesterday, not to steal the show here, but it's kind of like the illegal immigrant thing. People don't come out. They don't get driver's licenses. They don't do the right thing. They don't get it. You chase them into the corner, and they're not going to help you help them. You got to help them help you. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense to me. What do you think?
You're quoting Jerry Maguire. Remember, help me, help you.
Right.
I don't envy any of them for the position that they're in. And I really have felt on the whole that they've done a good job trying to protect the state, and also on the school front, they have been bullish about having schools open, which is obviously, we can debate whether that's the right thing or the wrong thing. I think that, so far that has been the right decision, although we'll talk more about, why that's becoming much more challenging. So I don't know much about her inner circle. I don't know much about who she talks to and who she doesn't talk to. I do feel like that the fact that we're leading up to an election makes this all much more complicated, much more polarized, much more, people aren't listening to each other. So yeah, I just hate all of it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. There's a built-in double, triple, quadruple tension here.
Yeah.
People are at each other's throats. They really are. I mean, on the roads, they're tougher. In the world, they're tougher. It's never mind trying to have a civil conversation about anything that has to do with public decisions, policy, never mind the election. So you're absolutely.
Yeah. And I think people feel pressure. I mean, again, like as a nonpartisan sort of non-ideologue, I don't totally understand this phenomenon, but I see it, that people feel pressure to say certain things or take certain sides based on their political leanings on every issue, right? So you could even see like what they think about COVID or schools or masks. Like it just seems like sometimes it falls along where their only meter they use is the political one.
Right.
And I find that incredibly, strange and just bad.
Yeah, everybody's got a pair of glasses that they look through, and it's like, okay, let me answer that question, but first let me put on my Trump prism. I love Trump, so let me put that on first, and then I'll explain to you what it's all about, and vice versa. It can be tough. All right, well, listen, we're going to pause. We're going to come back, and we're going to dig into the education stuff with Erika Sanzi. Her blog is Good School Hunting. We'll be right back. Back with Erika Sanzi. Her blog is Good School Hunting, and I think a must-read these days. I think a must-read before COVID, but a must-read for parents and educators and maybe even students. All right, lay it out for me. We have a situation here where schools are more than randomly closing down for reasons that are interesting. It's as if the administration, both the ed commissioner and the governor, don't take responsibility for the decisions to close schools down. They put it on the Department of Health, the tactical contact tracing, close contact formulas, which by the way are evolving, and we should talk about that. And then they say, hey, their call, we haven't closed any schools down. The general public gets confused about this.
I'm confused about this because the other day Angelica Infante Green, the ed commissioner, did her weekly talk with Kim Kalunian from WPRI, right? And she said that the Department of Health has not closed any schools. So then it left people thinking, well, then obviously it's the district officials that are deciding based on the information they have to do, these intermittent closures, I think is what they're calling them. And so there's even confusion among you know, everybody seems to be passing the buck as to who made the decision to close. And I find that actually sort of distressing, only in the sense that, again, it's like, well, I don't know what good comes out of that, right? Like, because you're just sort of trying to shift people, you're trying to get them mad at someone else or frustrated with someone else. And the one thing I do think is true in most cases, and I know some people will disagree with this, I do think most people are doing the best they can.
Yeah, well, it's the administration that's doing the blame shifting. I mean, look, it comes down to staffing. And this is the thing that was driving me crazy here, because it's not, I hate to be the one to say, I told you so, but I told you so. You know, after the spring and after what we dealt with there, and the summer didn't have the kind of recruitment, distance learning, strong plan B, if not D plan. And you and I, that's where we disagree sometimes, but consistency of delivery seems to me to be the most important thing for the kids right now. Remember, we have COVID, and we knew there was going to be a spike. We had no leadership out of Washington to do a better job with this. We had to know the country was going to suffer an increase of this virus. It was as predictable as anybody. All you had to do was talk to one epidemiologist. It was like, you know, chapter 2 in their first class. I mean, this is gonna happen. And so the idea that they have a personnel problem and don't have enough substitutes is really what drives the district to say, we can't have school because we've got 15 contacts in the faculty that are all out this week. That was something that they could have either better planned for, A, in recruiting substitute teachers, or B, knowing that you couldn't. But right now we live in the middle.
Yeah, so the sub shortage isn't new. So I think the idea of recruiting more teachers, more substitutes was a non-starter, because this was a problem long before COVID. I also think that what has turned out to be a challenge is that school leaders were told that they had to come up with a lot of different plans for different scenarios. And there were those words, you know, limited reopening, partial reopening, full reopening. And so I think what happened is they never were really able to get really, really good at one thing, one plan, one scenario, because they had to be sure that they were checking the boxes, that, you know, so that RIDE would see that they were prepared for all these different scenarios. And I think operationally, that's really difficult for schools to sort of be like, to sort of have to be able to say, oh, well, we can do, you know, it 8 different ways. But I'm not sure that learning is going to be, I mean, here's the question, right? Does learning suffer, or is learning going to be as good when you're like trying to juggle 8 different ways of getting children instruction and getting children what they need? The other problem, I think, is that schools have they're not working from any metrics. So they don't even know, okay, you know, if community spread hits X number, then we need to shift from whatever plan we're in to this other plan, right? Kind of like.
Well, there was a metric to start.
Well, they don't seem to feel, I mean, it's a moving target, because, and it's not that I haven't gotten the sense that they have their heart set on any one number. They just want a number. So if, you know, right. And there are a lot of smart places, you know, I think Children's Hospital at UPenn has put out a number that they think people should follow in terms of schools. The CDC has a number. I think some cities are working with different numbers. Our school leaders have no number.
No, so, but the thing that, if the number means, you know, infections in the schools, is that what the number is? Infections in the schools, or is it a community infection?
I think that so right now, Rhode Island seems to be looking only at transmission in the schools.
Yeah, but that's why the governor is hard to support in this, because in order to open the schools, the metric was about community spread. It was right. It was cases. It was less than 10 cases per 100,000 in your community, and if you were under that, then bang, or 5. It was 10. 5 or 10. I'll check. But it was a significant school opening metric was community spread based.
Correct.
Now they're all blowing past the community spread thing, and it's okay to keep the kids in the school that you didn't allow them to go into until you had a certain metric. It's crazy. And by the way, speaking of metrics being moved, I understand through my my own networking that the contact tracing and who's defined as a close contact in the schools, that bar has been moved now, because all of a sudden you realize, holy cow, under our first, who you were with for what period of time in what classroom, how, oh God, that just sent 12 teachers out. Well, you know what, we're gonna knock that out. Now you had to be around for 15 minutes long in this particular spot, a little closer here. They're moving the metrics to keep the schools open, and that doesn't fly.
The other thing that's tricky about this too is it really depends at the school level, right? So like there are elementary schools and even middle schools that are very much in stable pods. They really are. They're 6 feet apart. They're not commingling with kids in the halls, at lunch, at all, right? They're really doing stable pods. Makes contact tracing easy, and it makes decisions about closure. You may be less likely to close in that scenario. Everyone's talking about these in general terms, but a very tightly podded elementary school is different than a comprehensive high school in terms of, how, I don't know what it would be called, but, people being in the same spaces, you'd have way more contacts at the high school level. It's literally like a weather forecast that says pending storm every night for the next few months. So then they have to, and so think about how parents freak out, right? We want to know the night before, or why don't you, why do you tell us the night before? Wait and see if it snowed the next day. And they're making decisions because they're getting calls come in from the DOH. People find out about positive cases in the middle of the night.
Right.
And so we're literally talking about like, okay, so is it better to start sending out emails at 3 a.m. and making phone calls at 5 a.m. so to tell people that the school is closed? Or is it better to be working around a plan that allows everybody to know what's happening for some extended period of time?
Yeah, consistency of the model is what I'll keep harping on. I know you have some thoughts about administrators, and we'll talk about that when we come back with Erika Sanzi. The blog is Good School Hunting, and we're talking about it. Stay with us. With Erika Sanzi, she's my go-to on education. And look at these conversations. I mean, she holds no office and makes no decisions, but she's a great thinker. She's a former school committee member, and also a former teacher, and writes and is well respected within the industry on her thoughts. And that's why I kind of go to her for a soulful conversation about all of this. And believe me, we're not speaking in a vacuum. Where do we go from here? The virus in some ways is going to dictate where we go from here. There's no way in God's green earth that we're going to open up an auxiliary hospital and keep the schools open. I mean, come on. Are we?
Well, I have learned, I think as many have, to be very humble when it comes to talking about this virus and predicting what's going to happen.
Sure.
So I don't know. I will say, I think France and Germany both just did pretty major shut lockdowns over the past few days. And one of the only things staying open are the schools. I have not yet looked to see like what, I don't know what numbers they're looking at to have made that decision. I just know that pretty much everything else is closed. I think it's for a month. And the schools are not. So would it shock me if schools were open and lots of other stuff closed? No. But I have no idea.
Well, I just
and I don't know the right thing to do.
Well, and I appreciate that. Neither do I. Well, I just believe the consistency of delivery is the best consolation prize here. Again, we've got COVID. Just keep saying that. It's like, wait a second. Sorry. Yeah, our pace is not going to pick up. Our Rhode Island surge to catch Massachusetts is not going to happen. Even if we did close the gap, it would be a gap on a different platform of evaluation. But like again, Pawtucket gets the wrath of the governor for their distance learning, mostly because their buildings weren't compatible. And we've gone over that before. But in the end, ironically, they may be at the end of 2021 school year the better deliverable because they were consistent in their plan.
So I agree. Here's the thing, though: consistency isn't helpful if the product isn't good. Well, and I'm not implying that that's the case in Pawtucket or anywhere else for that matter. All I'm saying is that for some people, I mean, a lot of our kids, a few days a week, are done by like 11:30 with everything. Versus the school that is live streaming classes and essentially runs a school day while the student is at home. Now, again, that age matters on this too, right? Like a high school kid, not all, many high school kids can manage doing live stream classes from their home. That is not the situation for a first grader. But I mean, in Cumberland, for example, on the days that you're not in school, you're not getting live stream instruction. You're doing what's called independent tasks.
Yeah. Well, I agree. They didn't build the system well for distance learning.
Correct.
Okay. I know the commissioner bristles at that, but we've been half, you know, the old phrase, our toes been in the water the entire way.
I think that's fair.
And so
I think that's fair.
So we'll have to leave it there, but I'll continue the pace with you if you'll, because I think this is almost therapeutic conversation for parents and teachers, just to commiserate and to keep our wheels turning on it. Read the blog, Good School Hunting, and the Valley Breeze as well. Erika writes once a month in the Valley.
Oh yeah, once a month.
Yes, so. No,
I should probably check the calendar because I forget which week is mine.
I think next week is yours. All right. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Thanks, Dan.
It really is consistency of delivery that we need from the schools. And what we also need is consistency of metrics. The bar keeps moving while we hold on to this idea of keeping the schools open on an in-school learning basis, which of course ought to be our dream and our wish in the middle of COVID. I'm not sure it ought to be our objective. We'll talk to you on the radio weekdays 3 to 6 on WPRO and back here tomorrow night. Remember, if you haven't voted yet, voting early might be a good idea.